A man sits in a dimly lit room, his face glowing blue from the computer screen. Click. A new message appears in an encrypted chat room. Drop complete. Coordinates uploaded. He smiles, opens a second window, a live feed of someone's home thousands of miles away. The victim has no idea their private life is about to be streamed for profit. When the FBI raids the address days later, they find no basement full of captives, no secret lab, just a laptop, a VPN chain, and a man who never left his house. This is the new frontier of evil. A world where crime no longer needs a weapon, just Wi-Fi. Tonight, we enter the shadows of the Internet's darkest criminals. Timeline: when crime went online. The Internet promised connection, information for everyone, anywhere. But for some, it became the perfect hiding place. The first seeds of the dark web were planted in the 1990s when researchers at the U.S. Naval Laboratory created Tor, short for the Onion Router. It was meant to protect online communications through layers of encryption. But by the mid-2000s, it had evolved into something else, a digital underworld. Here, anonymity became currency. And in that darkness, new predators began to hunt. The most notorious of them all was Ross Ulbricht, the man behind Silk Road, the Internet's first major black market. Launched in 2011, Silk Road looked like eBay, but instead of books or clothes, it sold heroin, counterfeit passports, and weapons. Payments were made in Bitcoin, the perfect tool for laundering digital cash. Ulbricht, calling himself Dread Pirate Roberts, believed he was building a libertarian utopia, a marketplace free from government control. In reality, he created a billion-dollar crime syndicate hidden in plain sight. Within 2 years, Silk Road had nearly 1 million registered users, and among them, hackers, arms dealers, and hitmen for hire. But for every digital empire, there's always a digital trace. Investigation: the hunters in the dark. In 2013, a small FBI cybercrime team began tracking the site. The problem? Every server was masked behind Tor, every user anonymous. But cyber investigators know one truth: everyone slips eventually. An agent scouring early forum posts found a clue. A user promoting Silk Road had once posted the link on a public forum, without using Tor. That IP led to an internet cafe in San Francisco, the same cafe Ross Ulbricht often visited. When agents finally arrested him, he was sitting in a library, laptop open. Had they waited 5 seconds longer, he could have closed it, encrypting everything. Instead, they caught him mid-message, chatting with a buyer. Silk Road was shut down. Ulbricht was sentenced to 2 life terms. But the darkness didn't end there. It evolved. With every site taken down, another appeared. Hydra, Dream Market, Alpha Bay. Each more secretive, more ruthless, more global. And soon, cybercrime wasn't just about drugs or stolen credit cards. It became psychological. Case 2. The Online Predator. Mr. Cruel Reborn. A quiet suburb in Canada. A teenage girl wakes up to find her private photos online, posted by someone she's never met. He calls himself Aidan Coban, but online he was hundreds of people. Fake accounts, fake friends, fake identities. His most famous victim was Amanda Todd, a 15-year-old girl who posted a YouTube video holding up cards describing how a stranger had blackmailed her with her own images. Weeks later, overwhelmed by harassment and isolation, she took her own life. The world mourned. The internet demanded justice. But no one knew who the man behind the messages was, or even where he lived. It took nearly a decade for investigators to trace the IP addresses across continents. Every connection led to another false identity, a chain of proxies, servers, and encrypted drives. Finally, Dutch police raided a small house in Tilburg. Inside, they found hundreds of fake profiles, thousands of stolen images, and evidence of dozens of victims. Coban was convicted in 2022, but Amanda Todd's story revealed something deeper: the birth of a new kind of killer, one who doesn't need to touch his victim to destroy them. These are psychological predators, feeding on attention, power, and humiliation. Experts call it digital sadism, cruelty amplified by distance and anonymity. When you can't see the victim, empathy dies, and that's what makes them so dangerous. Case 3. The Cyber Assassins. Not all dark web crimes are about manipulation or profit. Some are about power and control. In 2015, an anonymous hacker group calling itself Dark Overlord broke into the servers of hospitals, law firms, and even schools. They didn't just steal data, they weaponized fear. They threatened to release private medical records, student information, and even 9/11-related government documents unless paid in Bitcoin. And when victims refused, they leaked everything. That even darker corners existed. Forums offering assassination services. While most were scams, one case stood out. A man in Italy allegedly paid thousands in cryptocurrency to have his ex-girlfriend killed after finding a supposed hitman service on the dark web. When police arrested him, they found he had been corresponding with an undercover cyber agent posing as the assassin. The transaction, and his digital fingerprints, became evidence of intent to kill. The dark web, once a playground for curiosity, had become a mirror of the world's darkest desires, and law enforcement was racing to keep up. The investigation behind the screens. Catching cybercriminals isn't like chasing fugitives through streets or alleys. It's a war fought in code, in servers, in milliseconds. Investigators use digital forensics, tracing patterns of behavior, typing speed, language quirks, and even metadata hidden in photos. One FBI analyst famously identified a child predator by the reflection in a victim's eye, a distorted image that, when enhanced, revealed a curtain pattern from a specific European hotel. Others use honeypots, fake dark websites designed to attract illegal activity. When users log in, thinking they've found a black market haven, every click, every keystroke is recorded. In 2021, one such operation, Operation Trojan Shield, involved the FBI secretly running an encrypted messaging app called Anam. Criminals around the world used it to coordinate drug deals, money laundering, and murder plots, unaware that every message was being copied to the Bureau. Over 800 arrests were made in a single sweep. For once, the hunters had become the ghosts. Aftermath. The mind of the digital criminal. What drives someone to commit crimes in a world they can't even touch? Psychologists studying cybercriminals found recurring traits: narcissism, detachment, and what's known as moral disengagement. When you act through a screen, the human cost disappears. The pain becomes numbers. The victim becomes data. It's the same psychological mechanism used by financial fraudsters, identity thieves, and even troll armies. Dehumanization, turning empathy off like a switch. Ross Ulbricht believed he was fighting for freedom. Aidan Coban convinced himself he was in control. The hackers of Dark Overlord said they were exposing corruption. But at the core, all shared the same delusion, that hiding behind code erased their humanity. And yet, their stories reveal something disturbing, the way the internet itself shapes morality. When distance and anonymity remove consequence, the line between wrong and possible begins to blur. The psychology of digital evil. There's a phrase used by cyber investigators. The mask doesn't create the monster, it frees it. Online, identity becomes fluid. You can be anyone or no one. And in that void, people test limits. Psychologists compare it to the Stanford prison experiment, where ordinary people turned cruel under anonymity and authority. Except now, the experiment never ends. It's happening on millions of screens at once. Cybercriminals don't always start with malice. Some begin as hackers chasing curiosity or ego. But once they discover the power of invisibility, to steal, to manipulate, to destroy without being seen, the descent begins. And like addiction, it feeds on itself. Each successful act reinforces control, the ultimate psychological high. They become gods in their own digital worlds, rewriting the rules of morality, one keystroke at a time. Closure. The ghosts in the machine. The internet has no shadows, only reflections. Every crime, every click, every secret leaves a trace somewhere. The Silk Road was dismantled, but its clones persist. Amanda Todd's story still echoes, teaching vigilance and empathy. And for every hacker arrested, a new one logs in, believing they're smarter, faster, untouchable. But there's something haunting in that pattern, the idea that evil no longer needs a face. It can be code, it can be data. It can live in the quiet hum of a server farm halfway across the world. As technology evolves, so will crime, more invisible, more intelligent, more intimate. But in the end, the question isn't just how we stop them. It's why they start. What does it say about human nature when the very tool built to connect us also becomes the perfect place to hide our darkest selves? Somewhere, right now, someone is logging in. A new identity, a new crime, a new ghost. And behind that glowing screen, humanity's oldest impulse flickers again. The need to control, to dominate, to destroy. The internet didn't create evil. It just gave it unlimited bandwidth.